Hello, welcome to Thomas Trash Talk. Meg.
Okay, we've lost it. We've jumped the track. Bye! What is my topic?
Is this new Steam team where Henry and Edward have been kicked out of the sheds. What aggravates me about this whole thing is that they decided to do this transition to continue with the rebranding process when they switched to Big World Big Adventures. And by doing this, they put in Nia, who was in Big World Big Adventures, the movie, who was brought to Sodor at that point, and then Rebecca, who was a new engine from the mainland that was added during that season, like second or third episode, I don't remember. So my issue with this is people love to bitch and complain. You are familiar with this fandom and how idiotic they can be.
Sadly, yes.
My biggest issue is it has now been almost 4 years since this happened.
Are you serious?
Give or take. I think they started the announcements of this transition when we were doing the show with Brit.
Okay.
So, it's been about 3.5 years or so since they did this. So then people were up in arms and were like, they're still going to be in the show. Yeah. And fun fact, season 22, they had more screen time than they had the previous, 3 seasons. They still had and have relevant plot information. They're more supporting characters now. But what bothers me is that they made it seem, people make it seem like they took them and they ran them through a blender and said, they're never here again! And it's like, no, they're still there. They're still relevant. They still have their own episode arcs.
What was Henry's personality?
Thoroughbred, per the DVD descriptions.
Okay, I've had a problem with this from the beginning.
Nobody can give any accurate descriptions of these characters except for Thomas.
No, I could accurately describe James and Gordon
and
Percy.
Toby a little bit. Toby's personality goes through some shifts.
Yeah.
The other problem with Henry is that Henry's personality has gone through it's been like a pinball machine where it's like he started kind of snippy
whatever
and
the plot needs him to be.
Yeah.
In which case,
so then he went
I don't need him.
So then he went super terrified of everything for a while, everything. Oh my god, that's a paperclip, it's gonna kill me, and it's like, so that was completely wildly out of character. But they couldn't just pinball him back the other way. They had to slowly bring him back to a neutral point. But then by the time you hit neutral, it's we've got 800 new characters that actually have a personality that were well written. So they kind of screwed themselves over at that point.
Yeah. And Edward, I mean, he's nice and all.
I think what I would find more interesting is now that we've got Trevor back, I think I would rather see more of these episodes with Edward and Trevor do it, and I have a couple episode arcs with that. What's good about having all these different characters, what's good about having and bad about having all these different characters is you get enough opportunity to see all different characters interact with each other, and each one can have an episode.
Yeah.
Now the problem with that is you're looking at them focusing on these centralized 8 characters and then everyone else being a supporting character. That's not always necessarily true, because then you have situations like Free the Roads, where Bolgi was the main character of that episode arc, and it followed his journey, and Thomas was the supporting character, which is how it should be for a lot of the show. Granted, the show's called Thomas and Friends, but it's nice to let other trains and vehicles and people do their thing. So when people talk about their taking away from the team, so what they ended up doing was they ended up moving, they had an entire episode about Edward working with Philip and then moving in to Philip's shed, and he said, you know what, this is closer to my branch line, I enjoy this, I don't have to get up as early, it makes sense, and somehow I was like, yeah, you're right, this makes sense, cool. So it was written like that. Henry's is a little bit more oh, I can go to this shed, cool, that's fine, bye, Edward can do it, I'm gonna do it. So it was a little less thought through, but there was still a reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
So
well, the goal of a show like this is to give you the sense that this is an entire living and breathing and working community. So having more pieces fleshes that out and makes that feel more genuine. The problem is, when you have that many characters, you can only give each person or train so much screen time.
Yeah.
And particularly when you have a show like this where I can't really say there's character development, because, like, the mistakes Thomas makes in season 1 and the mistakes Thomas makes in season 20, some of the same mistakes, let's be real. So
we've come a long way since, like 2011, though. Like,
right, but, like, unlike other animated shows where characters are allowed to age and characters are allowed to grow and characters are allowed to change, yeah, this is in kind of that Groundhog Day, they're never going to change or learn or grow. And so then when you have so many characters and none of them are changing or growing because they're all designed to be one note, for lack of a better term, you've got to do something to keep it fresh because the characters aren't growing or changing. And the best way to do that is to shake up your roster and have different people interact that haven't interacted before, and if the best way to do that is to rotate in some new ones, because now, hey, they have someone new to play against, that's going to be the way to keep your show fresh. If you're not going to let your characters age or grow, you need new characters.
Yeah.
That just makes sense from a writing perspective.
You also get to a point, speaking on the writing, we've gotten, give or take, 25 episodes a season. Mm-hmm. Some of them are more, some of them are less.
Yeah.
So when you do, we're getting close to 500 episodes now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of thinking and trying to figure out how these characters, who do basically the same thing every single day, can possibly screw up again.
And for how many of those seasons were they landlocked to a particular collection of settings? Obviously there's quite a few different settings on the island, but, like, there's only so much room to change and shift and give you new places to play.
And once they switched to CGI, that opened it up a little bit more. But, you know, and then each season you saw more different things, or you got to see revisit other places that hadn't been seen since, like, the model era. And but, you know.
But again, it's a finite space.
Yeah. And
it's
now that we've opened up to the world, like...
Right, it's not like, you know, a Star Wars show where it's like, let's drop them into a new environment and see how they react. Like, where are you going to drop them on Sodor? Next to water! Next to a tree! There's a field! Like, there's only so many... It doesn't have... The environment did not have as much of an effect on those situations, as opposed to another show where you can take your characters and be like, what if I drop them in snow? What if I drop them in the desert? What if I drop them in the Grand Canyon? Like, how are they going to? Right, because writing prompts of, I put my character in an unusual situation is, like, the basis of a good writing prompt. And if you only have so many situations and places you can put them in, again, you're going to start running into the issue of, well, what do I do with them now? And I mean, we're already talking about characters that it's harder to write for. They can't pick things up. Yeah. They don't eat. We want to look at how many plots revolve around things that you could, like, food. Like, that's a super easy thing to write for. Totally off the table for them. They don't... There's a bunch of life milestones you can't play with either. Again, how many shows rely on dating and relationships to be their primary? Or birthdays, or...
The only holidays you really see on the show are Halloween. You see Christmas.
Yeah.
A lot. You see, I think there's a Mother's Day episode for Sir Hoppin' Hat's mom. I don't remember.
Right, so most of the writing prompts and tropes that you would be able to work with in any other show don't work in this setting.
No.
So the only thing you have left is to change out your characters.
Yeah. Or better define them.
Or fix the problems you've had for a very long time, male-female ratio. Thank you for adding female characters and actually giving them screen time.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? The same 5 stories over and over again? That's called watch the old episodes or go write your fanfic. I don't know what to tell you.
And please don't share your fanfic with us.
Please, I will not be reading it. Not that. And these characters don't go to school, so they don't learn, so, like... There's also a whole bunch of plots you just can't use.
I would be more interested to see more episodes focus in around the human characters as the main focal point, and then the engines be supporting characters, because you get episodes like, I don't remember what the episode's called, the one where Sir Topham Hatt's mom, Dowager Hat, takes over. Like, Sir Topham Hatt gets sick, and she goes, "You're going home, I'm gonna run the railway," and it's a mess. And Emily's like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "I've got this, I know what I'm doing," and she doesn't, and it's real bad. But it's like, that episode was so good, because it gave an opportunity to see what the humans, first of all, personalities, and how they interacted with the engines, because you only see Sir Topham Hatt focus on them.
Yeah.
You have started to see, this is another thing that, you know, I think Sam was a big pushing point on this, was getting the drivers and firemen to get more screen time and like have them be, because there was a point where the engines kind of did what they want, and it was like, do they not have people in them anymore?
Yeah.
So now they have.
Easier to ride for.
So I'm gonna see what Edward and Henry's personalities are based in the encyclopedia, and then we're going to see if this is a relevant thing. So Edward says, "Kind Edward is friendly." First of all, what?
So he's a Hufflepuff.
To everybody. Although his friends sometimes tease him about his old-fashioned ways, they always ask the number 2 engine for help and advice. Knowledgeable. Driver's side went, I don't know why I'm like pointing out these things. Edward was proud when Sir Topham Hatt declared him a true hero for his helpful ways. Helpful is all I'm getting. I'm getting one word and it's helpful. Helpful and nice. Helpful, nice, and I guess knowledgeable. Edward loves to spook other engines with ghost stories. That was mentioned one time. As far as I remember, it was one episode, one time. I don't know how accurate that is, but I'm going to say it. He's not the fastest engine, but he is the kindest. So that is now the...
So his personality.
Fourth time? And did you know that buffers are used to join an engine to a carriage? They also help engines come to a stop. That has nothing to do with Edward.
Nope.
A fact file. Roll. Pulling coaches and trucks. Home tidbit sheds. Not anymore. And he likes pushing his friends up steep hills. I don't know if he likes that. So that's what I've got for Edward in this book, in this encyclopedia.
That's,
Henry. I don't see the word thoroughbred on here, and I'm very upset by this. Henry was always running out of puff until a new firebox powered up his pistons. So basically what I've heard is Henry's personality is he had surgery.
A chronic illness.
Henry is still a very cautious engine, better safe than sorry. Cautious. Likes pulling the flying kipper, lives at Tidbit Sheds, not anymore. And carrying freight trains. Health and safety is the way, is the quote I have. I don't know if he's ever said that. Henry is nervous and very easy to spook. So it sounds like Edward tells the ghost stories and Henry's like, fuck that. Fun fact, on the main line there is a tunnel named after Henry. We're not going to tell them why that tunnel is named Henry's Tunnel. Okay.
So yeah, surprise! It's hard to write for characters like that. Edward is a supporting character, that's how he's designed. And Henry, well...
Sick is not a personality.
Sick is not a personality.
Cautious. I like the word that they use, cautious, and not scared.
Yeah.
Like that makes any...
Risk averse. I feel that.
But also, for every character that we've gotten that is decent, we've also gotten about 6 that were bland and you don't really see them again. And it's like, it's going back to the equal representation of male and female, you also get, I feel like because they introduce more male characters, you get more of these male characters that are
totally pointless.
They're just like, what is he? He's nice.
So they've
nice
gone with the spaghetti method.
What's the spaghetti method?
So
I like spaghetti.
The spaghetti method, there is a commonly used thing where some people check if their spaghetti is cooked by throwing it at the ceiling or the wall and seeing if it sticks.
It's called
That's like a cooking thing. Correct. So people, so the spaghetti method is to just take a whole bunch of things, throw it, and see what sticks to the wall.
And you can't do that while writing.
No!
You can only do that to a certain point with writing.
You can do it in the brainstorming sessions.
Yes,
you can do it in the development stages.
As you develop it, you've got to figure out what's good, because if the story's not good, you don't produce it.
If it falls off the wall, it wasn't meant to be on the wall.
wrapping up this discussion, which was supposed to be 5 minutes long, Henry and Edward, they're still relevant, they're still here. It's like, okay, so I guess wrapping this up as best as possible, let's say you are in elementary school, and you're going from 2nd grade, where you had a bunch of friends in your class, to 3rd grade, and now you're all in different classrooms. Are you not going to be friends with them because they're in different classrooms? No. You're still friends with them. You still talk to them. If you don't, you're a bad friend. And like, all the engines still talk to Henry and Edward. They still say, yo, what's up, PP, motherfucker, as they pass by. Like, they're not like, oh, you moved to the other shed? I'm an elitist. I only talk to the Tidmouth people. Speaking of people not living at Tidmouth, where the hell is Toby? Anyways, if your opinion is to complain about Edward or Henry, don't comment below, unless you agree with us. Then you can comment and say, I agree with Eric and Katie about everything in life.
Please.
And then you could also subscribe, and then you can also inflict this video upon people that
yes, please.
Don't listen.
Spread the word.
And just continue to comment no matter what they say, no matter what the conversation could be about Sir Topham Hatt's hat and how much it costs and where he buys it from. And they're like, I wish Henry and Edward were there! And it's like, Sir Topham Hatt lost his hat on Henry's train, so technically I have a problem with Henry and his train. Episode 3. No, 4. 4. It's Henry's fault.